Hi guys, welcome back on the channel. Today is our second video. We're going to talk about Solo Wargaming. The first video we talked about rules, we talked about methods of giving an unpredictability to your game, doing cards, event cards. But now we're going to go a little bit more deeper and we're going to see how we're going to make an enemy army AI, what characteristics we can give to the opponent's leaders. Maybe we can give some specific mechanics of random events and roll some dice. And generally speaking, I will give you some ideas that if you like to incorporate them in your games while you're gaming on your own, maybe you will enjoy the battle more. So we have here our setup, a river in the middle, a bridge. We have a chapel and a kind of village in the back, and French and English knights ready to cross the river. So depending on the situation you have, you can accordingly create for enemy behavior. For example, as you see, it adds an unpredictability by letting the artificial intelligence, let's call it this way, it's quite fashionable, enemy forces act through dice-driven behavior charts. For example, enemy action table with a D6. As you can see here, if you roll a 1, retreat to the nearest cover. 2, hold position and defend. 3, advance cautiously, half a speed. 4, aggressive charge to the nearest enemy. 5, flank towards weakest point. 6, wait for reinforcements next turn. There's some generic examples, but depending on the situation, how you set up your battle, you can have it accordingly, cross the river, hold the bridge. Maybe if the chapel was here in the middle, you can control the chapel, attack, flank. So you can roll and create, depending on the situation, you create these orders, depending on the terrain, depending on the battle you're fighting. And then these AI orders will be followed by your opponent, your AI opponent, based on the dice that are gonna be rolled. Now, obviously, there are many more other options that you can use it. So let's go, except now the enemy behavior tables that we mentioned before, which go for fog of war. We go for fog of war events. Now that's another interesting concept that you can use. So what we can say fog of war events. So it could be, again, a roll. And this you don't have to roll in every, let's say, initiative of your game. If your game, let's say you plan to fight 10 initiatives or 5 initiatives, it can be in the 1st, the 5th, the 9th, the 13th, the 17th, and the 20th. Or you can roll dice that most of the numbers have nothing, and some numbers would be a fog of war event. So it doesn't have to be continuous. It doesn't have to be in every single section of the game or in every single initiative of the game. So let's say you roll a 1 and it's an ambush. You roll 1d4 or 1d6, enemy units appear behind your lines. This is very interesting. So you play here and you roll an ambush, and suddenly behind the English you put a unit. Let's see better. Let's move the camera a bit. So you have behind the English or behind the French, maybe inside the village, a 1d4 unit. So maybe 2 units will appear in the back. Immediately creates an interesting. A messenger is killed. The orders were given by messenger. So a messenger is killed. That means that no orders will in this turn. So you stay idle for the full turn. And that could be obviously used with your armies as well, not only the AI army. So this fog of war events can be incorporated in both armies, even your artificial opponent. Reinforcements arrive. 1 unit appears at your deployment zone. So another interesting event. Weather change, movement halt due to mud or rain. And another weather change will be quite interesting. You could put, if you have a river flooding, and if units are within the river during the change event of the weather, and the river is flooding while some units are inside, they lose a stamina. They take a morale test depending on the route you're following. So you see how interesting events like this can make a battle fighting on your own. Then you can have, if you play, for example, Midgard, or never mind the billhooks, duel declared. Your commander must fight an enemy champion, and then you can have another thing, you know, you can find miraculous morale. A unit gains +1 morale this turn, maybe from an artifact. So these are fog of war events, that I call them, that can spice up your game from both sides, and the artificial intelligence, opponent and you. And obviously, you're going to design them. You're going to put, I will have all these in the description of the video below, but you can incorporate any type of event that suits the specific battle you're fighting. Now, if you go to the next, and this could be decision dice. That's another thing I was thinking. Now, whenever you're unsure what the solo opponent should do, ask a yes or no question and roll a die. So the decision die could be a D6 or a D10, and you can have 1 to 3, it will be no, 4 to 6, it will be yes. There will be modifiers. For example, you can get a +1 if it's logical, if it's, attacking here, or a -1 if it's risky. So maybe it will be hold the bridge, it will be logical, attack, cross the river, in front of the cross, longbow mine, it could be risky. So you roll, and you see if the AI opponent will do it. Example, would the enemy archer reposition? You roll a 5, yes, they reposition. So this is another decision die where you can use for your artificial intelligence opponent. So what else we can devise? Obviously mission-based objectives. Instead of just killing an enemy, you generate a mission goal randomly at the start. Example, objective table, and you roll a d6. Again, it depends on the setup you have. So obviously in this situation, an objective could be the bridge, or it could be the chapel there in the back, where you can see here, let me zoom here, the chapel in the back. So you can rescue a captive behind enemy lines. That's an interesting objective. Then you can go defend the village 5 turns, a very, very interesting objective. So this village behind the French lines could be an objective of the English. Break through and exit the opposite side. So breakthrough, you need to break through, you need to put your strongest units, your fastest, your more powerful units to break your opponent and go to the other side. And that's, the way you're escaping. What else can be? Destroy enemy siege engine. You don't have to have a siege, but you can be part of your objectives and capture the enemy banner or relic. If you have, banners here that the French have, maybe this will be your objective and you will focus here. So your strategy will focus on specific. Survive until reinforcements arrive. Make your AI opponent act to stop your objective at all costs. So how this works, so you have an objective, so your AI opponent, based on this objective, will work, and his strategy and his movement will be accordingly to stop you getting this objective. Thus, it will work more consciously. So if you have an objective of crossing and, crossing and taking, breaking the lines of the French and going to the village, the AI army will work accordingly. If your objective is the bridge, the AI army will try to stop you. It has to work logically. If you need to save and rescue a character in the lines and you decide where it is, the AI will work to stop you. So again, this mission-based objectives help you. Now, another thing that you can do is basically could be a momentum tracker that I've used before in board games. You track the momentum of a battle using a single token or marker. Each time you score a success, the objective progress, kill a hero, etc., you move the marker 1 step towards your side. Each time the AI does move it towards their side. So in this case, you gain a morale boost or reinforcements, or AI triggers a power move or new behavior mode. So if it hits each other end. So again, a momentum tracker is quite interesting. I've used it in basically, there is a momentum tracker in some board games, but you can use it here. Now, another thing you can use, and that helps you, is create some kind of role-playing characters for commanders. You have commanders with characters. Create profiles of enemy commanders that will take the enemy style. So by basically giving a lot of information about his character. For example, you have a personality of him being bold, and he charges and ignores danger. Immediately, this will dictate the strategy of the opponent. If he's cautious, so he fortifies to avoid risky fights. So these guys will stay in the banks of the river and control the side, so you have to attack. He can set traps, feints, and flanks. So he may set traps, and you have mechanics that traps will be specifically in specific locations. He always targets the strongest unit. He's a bloodthirsty, so he focuses on charging maybe the unit of the commander, and then he could be mixes attack and defense smartly. So randomly select one before each game to flavor the AI's behavior. So what you're going to do is you create your own commanders. You can obviously create much better than this basic stuff I created. And these commanders will dictate the strategy, will dictate what the AI army will do. Another thing that you can create, obviously, because there are many rules with traits, many rules with characteristics. So if you have an aggressive opponent, you will know how the army will act. So all these add a spice in your game and can help you improve the unpredictability. So here we can go to another very simple way of doing it: solo wargaming and additional unexpected events. Now you can see here I have many events. You can have weather events, you can have enemy surprises. We can have many. You can roll D10s, or you can have a D30, or any types of these guys where you can roll, depending on the time you want these rolls to take place, and you can roll them, and then accordingly you will have events. So there's a D50, I think is this. So you can have many events during, every other let's say initiative. It depends on you how you want these events and how often you want these events to appear. So you have weather terrain, you have heavy rain, all ranged fire is -1 for 2 turns, fog descents, a line of sight is reduced to 6 inches, flash flood, river swells, all crossing is impossible for 1 turn. Now that's what we're saying to you about. If you roll now and the river swells, but already you have miniatures, you have units inside the river, immediately maybe you will lose this unit, or maybe this unit will have to take a morale test. So this is quite interesting. Dust storm, no charges allowed for 1 turn. Again, you're ready to charge. You have your opponent pinned. You have him ready for destruction. He's weak, and then the sandstorm appears and you cannot move and you cannot charge him. So he may be able to retreat or get support. Blizzard begins, winter terrain. All units move half the speed at the rest of the game. So this is the weather and terrain mishaps. You can have enemy surprises. You can have hidden reserves, as I write here. So 1d3 enemy units emerge from the flank. Traitor in the ranks. This is one I particularly like. One of your units turns cold and joins the enemy. Imagine how interesting this would be. So if you have this unit of French men-at-arms, or this unit of English men-at-arms, or Gascon turning traitor immediately and attacking you from the flank, immediately the whole story of the battlefield changes. Enemy commander dual challenge, I said this before. Sniper shot, roll a d6. On a 6 you have a hero wounded, so one of the crossbowman or the longbowman of the English, an excellent shooter, chooses the commander, shots at him, and with a 6 he kills him immediately, changing the balance of the game. An unexpected event. Beast Unleashed, a wild creature, war dogs, stumbled across the battlefield. You can do this. You can take a morale test then. Reinforced enemy position, 1 terrain piece, heal ruin, is suddenly fortified with arrows and spikes. Enemy units gain cover bonus there. So all these are surprises from the enemy. Then you can have superstitions, omens, and religious events. I put this yesterday, it was really funny. Comet seen overhead. Morale check required for all units. Some believe doom is near. Relic discovered in the field. Priest prophecy. Holy banner rallies man. And dark omen enemy units get a one-time reroll this turn. So you can have a lot of religious event, especially in that period we have. So if you continue, and we can have battlefield chaos. A stray arrow, already unit takes a range attack from unknown source. Fire breaks out, so you can have fire breaking out on the village. So you have this village and fire breaks out and the fire spreads and you have to take morale tests for your units. A sudden earthquake, cries in the night, night battle, confusion causes 2 of your units to switch places randomly. Rolling boulders, siege stone, a rock crashes into the battlefield, random D6 scatter, any unit takes D3 casualty. So you can have some really interesting events that will really create unpredictability on the battlefield. Then you have command and communication breakdowns, and that's quite easy, quite good. So you can have a messenger lost, one of your units, cards or actions is delayed 1 turn. Banner falls, a unit loses cohesion, text for panic. Commander misinterprets orders, you must switch 2 orders between units. That's quite interesting. I think command communication breakdowns is good. Unit scouting error, reveal a terrain piece, it's a trap or false cover. Again, all these create some fun and unpredictability. And obviously don't follow what I'm writing, but you can follow what you can write something based on the specific battle you're fighting. So we go civilian, animals and random encounters. That's another thing we can write. So another interesting, fleeing peasants cross the field, movement disrupted for units in their path. So that's quite interesting. You have fleeing peasants here. I may do it in the future, or fleeing monks, I may do it in a future battle. Local woman points the way. Choose 1 friendly unit to move twice this turn. Local guidance. Very interesting. So you have a local woman points the way and then a unit takes 2 turns. You see very nice narrative, very imaginative ideas behind it that create fun in your battles. But at the same time, simple reactions like move twice, take a cohesion test, fall back, things like that won't make the battle complicated. Wandering minstrels boost morale if allowed to play, otherwise they curse you and lower it. So another interesting, event. Rampaging oxen, a beast stamples across the board, damaging both sides. So again, you can have an oxen that you'll start from a location and you will move it twice, and wherever it crosses, it will create havoc to their army. Another thing you can do for your opponent is maybe random deployment. Obviously this would be in a little bit not favorable for your opponent if the random deployment is very weak. But again, it's something you may do. You may divide in a grid your area and then randomly deploy depending what die you will roll. So that's an option you might have also. In general, there's many other ideas you can do and mechanics you can find, but in general I think, and that's why I gave it more specifics. So for example, we had this fine idea about the rain and the swelling of the river. Depending on the battle, you can create events, that the ones you heard, that you will roll depending on how long the battle is, how often you want to roll for an event, or you can create cards. If you see many cards I'm creating. And depending on the terrain and the type of battle you have, you can very easily create random events that will spice up your battle. At the same time, I show you at the beginning, you can have specific commanders, specific traits, and specific characteristics that the commander's characteristics will dictate how the army will react. But also you can have AI style of orders, as I told you from the beginning, where the army will act accordingly depending on the dice you will roll, and depending on the orders will be given. Again, another way of accepting or rejecting the orders. So all these, I think, very simple die rolls, very, very simple and imaginative mechanics and events can really spice up your battle, and you can have loads and loads of fun without needing another opponent to enjoy. So this is for me, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you enjoyed these ideas for Solo Wargaming. Thank you so much for watching, and bye-bye. Have a great remaining weekend.